As I've already underscored in my speech on Europe in Prague by the end of August, the 6 Balkan states are part of the European Union. They belong into the European Union. They are part of the European family and part of Europe. And this is why I have always come out very strongly in favor of enlarging the European Union to include the states of the Western Balkan. And the so-called Berlin process is very important for the success of EU enlargement. I'm delighted, therefore, to be able to welcome today, I was able to welcome today, rather, the representatives of the participating states and institutions to the Berlin process. And I was gratified to see that all of the minister presidents of the states of Western Balkans came to Berlin, accepted our invitation. This Berlin process takes place ever since 2014 now for the third time under the German championship, so to speak, and we have hosted it, and I'm also very glad that I was able to have here Prime Minister Edi Rama of Albania. He will be hosting the next meeting, and the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, is also present here, as you can see, presenting the success and the results of this summit. The development of the Western Balkans and its integration into the EU is central to me. The EU accession is in our interests, and that is all the more important against the background of the brutal war of aggression of Russia against Ukraine. Reforms are necessary for this in the EU itself, but also in the region, in particular as regards rule of law and environmental standards. And for this, it is necessary to bring regional cooperation forward and to settle long-smoldering conflicts among these 6 countries. And an improved regional cooperation of the countries of the Western Balkans is key to speeding up the EU rapprochement. Ever since 2014, the Berlin process gives a very important contribution to this effect, and it has brought together the people. It has also increased links in the region at all levels, new roads, new interconnectors. In doing so, it has strengthened the economy, has also given a concrete contribution towards improving good neighborly relations and reconciliation in the region. And very concretely, what we are talking today is the creation of a common regional market that is compatible with EU rules, is also including all of the countries of the region. And I congratulate the countries of the Western Balkans that today, under the auspices of the federal government and the Regional Cooperation Council, 3 mobility agreements could be signed. And that is a great success for the citizens of the region. And it shows that the 6 Western Balkan states are serious in trying to get closer to regional cooperation as regards the European Union. For in this European project, it has always been about going forward together. These 3 agreements now will make it possible for the citizens of the region to travel, to cross borders just by using their IDs. And also there is mutual recognition enshrined in one agreement of higher education qualifications and professional qualifications. This will, in very concrete terms, improve the life of the individuals in the region and get the region closer together. And on energy, an important agreement, an important declaration has also been signed. The Western Balkan countries agree in this declaration to work together more closely for more energy and security, and also on climate protection measures in order to achieve the 2030 goal. We, the other participants of the Berlin process, are going to support the Western Balkan states in the medium and short term, and long term, obviously, in order to weather this energy crisis and to focus on renewables. Germany contributes to this through the work of its promotional bank, FW, in the short term through granting loans of up to 500 million in order to weather this acute crisis, and in the medium term, by 2030 through supporting energy transition for the Western Balkans to the tune of 1 billion euros. And all of these issues, we need to work together more closely. This summit has shown that there is a willingness to cooperate, and Germany is going to support this process in the future, and will also obviously be willing to host this process again in the future. The EU also supports this process, and here in particular the European Commission supports this. And we would like to thank the Commission for doing this. And I would like to now give the floor over to the Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, before the next host of the Berlin Process Summit will take the floor. President, the floor is yours.
Albania in the driving seat for next year. I know that the Berlin process continues to be in very good hands. So our aim is very clear. It's the aim to bring our Western Balkan partners as close as possible, as fast as possible. And here we have two tracks. One track of work is, of course, the accession process. There we have made good progress. The Commission has put enlargement back on the table from the very first day of my mandate. We have been securing agreement on a new enlargement methodology that opened up ways not only to deblock decisions, that was very important, but it also brought back credibility to the whole process. Then we have put on the table a substantive economic and investment plan. It brings 30 billion euros of investment to the region, which is overall approximately 1/3 of the GDP of the whole region. In addition, last year we had the first intergovernmental conference. We had intergovernmental conference with Montenegro. We opened one cluster with Serbia, and this year we were very happy that we finally managed to have the first intergovernmental conference with Albania and North Macedonia, started the screening process, and we made the proposal to Council to give Bosnia and Herzegovina candidate status. I must say this progress, which is good progress, dear Edi Rama, was possible because of the progress made in the Western Balkan countries themselves, so it's your success. Indeed, a second track of action is the Berlin process. And here the goal is to deepen our economic integration. And yes, we are facing manifold challenges. Most and foremost, Russia's invasion of Ukraine that marks a geopolitical shift on our continent. But the longer the Russian war lasts, the more determined we are to stand together and to withstand. We know that our investments in the Western Balkans are not only important for a conducive business environment, this is also the case, but that these investments are investments for peace, stability and prosperity of Europe as a whole. Against this backdrop, indeed, we discussed in depth the knock-on effects of the Russian war on energy, and therefore today's declaration on energy security and the green agenda for the Western Balkans mark a very important step. As the Chancellor already said, we are united in the goal of climate neutrality by 2050 and our climate targets by 2030. Now, if we look at the immediate crisis, it's important that we synchronize our steps. We are in an energy community. Therefore, in the short term, this means for all of us diversification of energy sources, the reduction of our dependency on Russian fossil fuels, and to keep energy prices in check with joint action. But we are also aware of the fact that unprecedented crises demand or need unprecedented steps and action, and therefore I am pleased to announce that the Commission will put forward a substantial energy support package. For the Western Balkans, it's 1 billion euros in grants, and it has two different parts. The first part is 500 million euros in grants as a very immediate financial support for the 6 Western Balkan countries, to put them in a position for the very short term to support vulnerable households and vulnerable businesses. This budget support will be adopted in December and available in January, in other words, very short term. The second part, the other 500 million euros in grants, will be dedicated to investments in energy infrastructure. So these are mainly investments in gas and electricity interconnectors to really have a common grid and interconnection in the region with the European Union. Very important is the emphasis on investments on renewable energy, because this gives us independence, it's clean energy, and it creates good jobs at home, and of course energy efficiency measures. In addition, we will strengthen the security of supply by improving and facilitating the access in each other's energy pipelines and storages. This is for the emergency. In case that somebody is in trouble, there is solidarity from all of us. And the European Union and the Western Balkans will harmonize their crisis and emergency plans and measures in a spirit of solidarity and increased mutual resilience. Finally, we are also inviting our partners from the Western Balkans to join us in our European attempt to have a joint procurement platform, so really to develop the strong market power we have if we stick together. And this brings me to the second point, the regional integration. That's the development of the common regional market. It is for us a very important stepping stone towards the EU single market. And indeed, in this regard, I welcome today's signature of the 3 very important agreements. The freedom of movement is key to both. It's key to the development of the common regional market, of course, but it's also key to the integration of the Western Balkans in the European single market. It's about the people. Be it students, be it professionals, they will bring the region forward. And therefore, the agreement is so important for 18 million people to move freely within the region. Professionals can tap their full potential regardless of where they work. And the professional qualifications, be it of skilled workers, students, researchers, medical doctors, dentists or architects, they will all be recognized throughout the Western Balkans. Very important is also that the national ID cards will be accepted at every border. So these measures will not only boost intra-regional travel in the Western Balkans, but it will also strengthen personal and cultural bonds between the people of the region. And in the very end, it's always the same good old story that has always been at the heart of the European project. It's enhanced cooperation and harmonization that bring peace and prosperity to all. So we should use every opportunity to get closer with our Western Balkan friends, and thank you once more for a very good Berlin process.
Thank you very much, and I must say that everyone from the region was very pleased to be here today in Berlin, 8 years after the Berlin process was launched in this very same building. And I must also say that Angela Merkel was proven right, because if today we have a united region in a very complicated moment of history for all Europe and for the whole Euro-Atlantic community, the public secret is the Berlin process. When we gathered here for the first time, we hadn't met each other for centuries. And nowadays, this is very, very much what we all like to do. And I would like to really thank wholeheartedly Chancellor Scholz for his engagement, for the great hospitality, for the outstanding German bread, and of course, last but not least, for trusting Albania and myself to host the next Berlin Process Summit in our wonderful country. And I very much hope that what was discussed today and taken carefully in the notes of the Chancellery will see progress in the next summit in Tirana, starting from the energy crisis, where we feel that we are not left aside, we are not alone, because just a few days ago the President of the European Commission Ursula made a tour in the Balkans, and she didn't just bring nice words of solidarity, but also very important financial support, important to start with, not to end with, of course. And in the same time, we are looking forward to see progress in the interconnectivity. As the Chancellor pointed out very, very clearly, it's not about connecting our own infrastructure, highways in our countries, but it's about connecting the region and Europe with the region and vice versa. We hope to see progress in the digital sphere, because these were the three main pillars of the Berlin process since day one: energy, interconnectivity and digital. But today we are also facing the challenge of cybersecurity, and it was discussed. And of course we want to see things move in the right direction for our young people. We have raised again the issue of how we can faster integrate with the European higher education system, our universities, and also on how we can have more presence from Germany and other EU well-developed countries through their private sector and not just public funding. To end with my, I hope, short introduction, I want to say that it's very important what we signed today. I cannot prevent myself to underline that these agreements were three agreements that we were looking forward since 2 or 3 years. They were blocked. The Chancellor, his team, really worked very hard together with our people to convince everyone to sign. And it's a great, great news that we had today 3 important signatures that we already had in the Open Balkan framework. So it's very important that now everyone is included in this framework of the 3 agreements. Of course, sounds a bit weird or a bit alienating for the people of Kosovo, that while they made another step through the government to sign this free movement with ID cards, can't yet move freely as everyone else in the region when it comes to the European Union. And I very much hope that this will be solved sooner more than later. So looking forward to host everyone next year in Tirana, and being very, very happy that we will host the Chancellor and others next month in Tirana again. We were laughing a bit because everyone was talking about becoming a hub of energy, but apparently Tirana is becoming a hub of summits.
Thank you very much. We have time for 2 short questions.
Elia Zotka, televizioni shqiptar Klan. Po zgjedh si kancelari të flas në gjuhën time, një pyetje përbashkët për kancelarin dhe
I prefer to speak in my language. There's a question I would like to address to both the Chancellor and the Prime Minister. Today, an agreement was signed for freedom of movement and also one for professional qualifications. The doctors, however, see their future in Germany. Prime Minister Rana, you quite often demanded from the countries of the European Union that they give back on these investments. these are, after all, investments that were taken into the future qualifications of people from the Albanian taxpayer. So we would like to get something back. Is there a possibility, a mechanism for how to do this? And the spokesperson of the British government today reacted to your declaration yesterday. How do you see this?
One of the main the free movement of labor is one of the main advantages of the European Union. So all that are going to join the Union are willing to accept this concept of free movement of labor, which we have now for more than 400 million people, and if you look to the workforce, 220 million. And if you look at it, it works more or less quite well. Not because of the movement to some countries, but if you go to the details, you see that it is very easy for young people and for all the others just to take the decision to do it for some years in another country. And doing this and going back is something that is enlarging the experiences and the advantages of many, many people. And so I'm very sure that free movement of labor is a very good concept for all of us. Yes, you are right saying that brain drain is a problem for countries looking at the different wages you have in the member states of the European Union, and this is even so for all those countries that are already member. But if you look to it, you see many of them going back later in their lives, and then the country is profiting from the experiences that they reached abroad. And if you look, for instance, to Germany, you will find many Germans all over Europe doing their jobs, going there for 5 years, for 10 years, for 15 years, sometimes going back, sometimes not. So this is something which is, in a way, already something that works for all. The other question is, what can we do that people like to stay in their country? And this is, the only answer of this is hope. If we are making it very good in developing the countries, creating a better economic atmosphere, making feasible that good jobs and good future is feasible in all the member states of the European Union and those countries that are willing to join the Union, I think this is the best answer to this problem.
So indeed, if you look over time for free movement of labor, and the Chancellor has already said how beneficial it is for all sides, that you see we have had this process of partial brain drain in any country that was in the accession process. And the closer you come to accession, the less strong this effect is. The solution is in raising the living standards. That's our common goal. But there are also below that one, because this takes time. And this is, of course, for families, for example, in the Western Balkans who want to keep their young people close to them, a difficult question if you see the time dimension. There are quite good examples where you have agreements cross-border, for example, for medical doctors, to have an exchange for a few years and then to come back and to deliver on the experience that is gained. And there are many very good examples for that, so this is something we can learn on. And as you, Prime Minister, raised the question of universities and cooperation, and of course in universities are, for example, also medical faculties. This might be a topic that we should develop in depth. Also, for example, Erasmus, so the movement of students within the Western Balkans and the European Union. We have started work on that, but it could be a very interesting point and deliverable for the Western Balkans Summit to come with solutions and to come with proposals on this, for you, so important question.
Thank you. I'm not aware what the spokesman of the British government said today, but I think that this country here is a great example that Britain and the British government should look into. Germany had the same problem, similar, some years ago, when with the big wave of the refugee crisis, also people from our region and also people from Albania joined, and I never heard any German politician, let alone government minister, talk about invasion. And I never heard any German politician, let alone government minister or interior minister, talk about Albanians being criminals and bringing criminals. But I saw a government that was very interested to address the issue with dignity and respect for the Albanian people, and to move forward concretely by first putting Albania in the countries of safe origin, tightening up the system of applications, and practically ending that moment of somehow turbulence in the most dignified and in the most respectful way. So instead of fueling a crazy narrative of invaders and gangsters to cover up for totally failed policies on borders and on crime, the British representatives need to come to Germany and learn quick and fix their own problems. We are not here in Albania to fix the problems they have in Britain. And secondly, I have to remind that our people, until they reach France, they are totally legal. So if there is a problem in the channel between France and Britain, they have to work with each other and to find a way to solve it. I know Brexit has made it more difficult, but this was a decision of the British people, not of the Albanian or of the French people. And at the end, we are very much happy to cooperate, to do whatever we can on our side, but we'll never ever accept this kind of rhetoric. Albanians in Britain are a great community, fully integrated. 70% of them, and they are not millions, they are just 140,000. And for 140,000 people of another community, Germany would not even count, just to be concrete. 70% of them left Greece and left Italy and didn't leave Albania. So there are 1,200 business leaders, Albanians. There are very well-respected academics, and so on and so further. And when it comes to criminals in the British jails, the number is less than 1%. So to single out the community and to talk about gangsters and about criminals doesn't sound really something that is very British. Sounds more like screams from a madhouse.
Anila Schuka, Deutsche Welle. Eine Frage an
Anila Schuka from Deutsche Welle. A question addressed to Federal Chancellor Scholz. You said the conflicts in the Balkan regions are supposed to be settled, and they need to be settled also if we look at this crossroads, this watershed moment that we experience right now. Germany and France tabled a proposal to solve the Kosovo question, sort of the normalization between Serbia and Kosovo. So my question is, how urgent is an agreement, in your view, between Kosovo and Serbia, and when do you expect this to happen? And if we still have time for a short question addressed to the three of you. Yesterday, during the Civil Society Forum, a wish was voiced to also have a timetable for enlargement. How realistic, how desirable is this? Thank you very much for the question. Thank you very much for the question. It is true. The bilateral conflicts that undoubtedly exist between certain member states of the Western Balkans need to be settled. They need to be overcome. So it's a good thing to be able to do this. This year we've already made enormous progress, for example, as regards the debate between Bulgaria and North Macedonia. The President already spoke about a success of this meeting. Processes that have taken place with Albania and North Macedonia, looking ahead towards a possible EU accession. And for Serbia and Kosovo, this also applies. An agreement must be reached. We, the French government, and also the European Commission are trying our utmost to make this possible. We're very actively involved in talks with both parties, and we hope that very soon we will come to a process where both governments will move forward and an understanding can be reached. That is something for which we need to have patience, and obviously we need to put a lot of effort into it. And we hope that very soon we'll see a positive outcome. As regards enlargement, I think the best thing would be for the Commission President to address that. I would say as fast as possible. After all, the decisions of Thessaloniki date back 19 years ago. Nobody at the time would have expected it to take so long, so we need to speed up matters.
First of all, from the European Commission side, I want to emphasize that there's full support for the Franco-German proposal. And we integrate that in the dialogue that is so necessary. So we call on both sides to move forward on that, because this is a bridge that is being built to solve a problem that can be solved, but that is in the way of a speedier accession process for the region. What the timetable is concerned, the accession process is completely merits-based. So there is no rigid timetable, and that's good. The better a country performs in its own interest with investment and reforms, the faster the process goes. But we also have, of course, the other way around, that with non-implementation, for example, from reforms or not undergoing reforms, we see a slowing down of the process. The modernized methodology has as a purpose to speed up the process if there is the willingness to really work hard, for example, on the general questions of the rule of law and the principal values of the European Union. So it gives the opportunity, compared to former times, to really speed up the process. And at the moment being, I must say, we feel a wind of change going through Europe because of the geopolitical situation. It is of utmost importance to push forward the accession process of the Western Balkans, and here we share the same attitude. We want our friends to be in the European Union.
I must say, first of all, that the new German and French plan offered to Serbia and Kosovo is really a great opportunity, not just for Serbia and Kosovo, but for the region, for Europe. And I very much hope that both sides will take it very seriously, and both sides will understand that it's time to see it also as an important contribution to the whole European architecture of security. On the other hand, when it comes to enlargement, I'm the worst person to be asked, but in general. But in this case, I want to say that independently from how the enlargement will go, we are now in a completely different level of cooperation with the European Union, and this today is one of the examples. There are other regional initiatives that are important. There is also the continuous path of common summits between the European Union and the Western Balkans. There is a new political community, so the space of dialogue, of cooperation, of mutual understanding and mutual efforts has increased, has been enlarged a lot. Of course, we need to do our own homework to get in the European Union. This will not change, and this should not change, because the work needed to become a full member is, first of all, a work that improves our own performance and makes our states functioning democracies at their best. So we don't need discounts, and we are not going to ask for discounts. And finally, I want to say that the Berlin process has proven itself so good and so efficient when it comes to the political understanding and when it comes to strengthening this sense of belonging to the same space, being named European Union or being named just Europe. And now it's time to push, to make it more consistent, more concrete, also to try and give common answers to questions like brain drain, to questions like better wages, to questions like better quality of life, and so on and so further, because Germany and the big rich countries of Europe will continue to be attractive for our people, as they are for many people, and we can't change that by telling them to regress. We have to run and to progress as much as we can with their help, and the sensation I have is that there is really a strong will to help. So we can't ask for more. Thank you very much, Chancellor. Thank you, Ursula. And let me finish by saying, when we had the signatures, we were 4 Albanians, 2 Germans, and some others. Now there are 2 Germans, 1 Albanian. So Albanians should really understand that we have never, ever been better than today. Of course, there is better in the future.
If you like, I will show her picture. Come with me.
So.